Chapter 4. Into the Wilds. The Euclidean Wilds had always been dangerous, but after the cataclysm, they had become something far worse. Once vibrant forests now stood twisted, their branches bent like claws, their leaves blackened as if burned from the inside out. Trees bled a dark resin that reeked of decay. The rivers no longer sang, their waters ran thick and sluggish, carrying fragments of the fallen star's corruption. Beasts that had once roamed these woods with majesty were now abominations, wolves with too many eyes, stags with antlers turned to jagged crystal, and bears whose hides crawled with thorned vines. These were the cataclysm beasts, warped and driven mad by the lingering power of the meteor. Daren journeyed alone. His armor was scavenged and battered, his sword dulled but unbroken. He carried little beyond what he needed to survive: a pack with dried rations, a flask of water, and a tattered map marking the forgotten paths through the wilds. He avoided settlements. Most were abandoned or crawling with bandits who preyed on the desperate. Yet even bandits underestimated him. In the crumbling ruins of Brevlin's Crossing, a gang thought him an easy mark. They cornered him in the shadow of a collapsed watchtower, blades drawn, laughter cruel. Daren warned them once. When they didn't listen, he moved like a storm. His blades sang through the air, swift and merciless. When the fight was over, silence returned to the ruins, broken only by the creak of the wind through shattered windows. The deeper he ventured, the worse the corruption became. In the Grove of Teeth, a place where the trees grew so closely their trunks fused into grotesque shapes, Daren faced his greatest challenge yet. A corrupted tree, once a guardian of the forest, now a hulking monster of twisted bark and writhing vines, blocked his path. Its glowing violet eyes fixed on him as it let out a roar that shook the ground. The battle was brutal. The tree's limbs swung like battering rams, splintering the earth. Daren dodged, rolled, struck. His blade bit into blackened wood, but the creature healed almost instantly, sap oozing like blood. Its vines lashed out, coiling around his arm, dragging him toward a maw lined with thorned roots. Daren fought like a man with nothing left but purpose. He set his torch to the vines, flames racing across the creature's form. With one final cry, he drove his sword into the tree's heart, where the corruption pulsed strongest. The beast shrieked, a sound both alive and hollow, before collapsing into a pile of smoldering ash. But the victory left him broken. His wounds bled freely, his strength gone. He staggered to his knees, the world spinning, his vision darkening at the edges. And then through the haze he saw a figure. Cloaked in vines and moss, eyes glowing faintly green with druidic power. A voice, soft but commanding, spoke. "Sleep, wanderer, the forest is not done with you yet." Chapter 5. The Hermit of Hollowroot. When Daren awoke, he was lying on a bed of moss inside a round hut made of living wood. The air was thick with the scent of pine, sweetroot, and crushed herbs. Soft green light filtered through gaps in the walls. A fire crackled gently in the center of the room, surrounded by bowls of potions and rune-marked stones. Beside him sat an elderly elf with skin like weathered bark and eyes pale as moonlight. "You should be dead," the druid murmured, placing a cool cloth on Daren's forehead. "But you held on. Why?" "I have someone to find," Daren rasped. His voice was hoarse, his throat dry. The druid studied him for a long moment. "Then your will is stronger than the forest's curse. That is rare, but strength alone will not save you from what waits beyond these trees." The druid's name was Daren. He was a hermit of the Hollowroot, an ancient section of the wilds that had resisted even the cataclysm's deepest corruption. For days, Daren nursed Daren back to strength with strange brews and quiet wisdom. He spoke little of himself, but much of the wilds. He taught Daren how to move without leaving a trace, how to read the patterns of corrupted beasts, and how to follow the old paths, the hidden trails still loyal to the laws of nature, untouched by the fallen star's poison. "Most who enter these woods never leave," Daren said one night as they sat by the fire. But you carry a weight greater than yourself. I see it in your eyes. You are not merely surviving. You are searching." "I have no choice," Daren said. "She's waiting for me, and my child I can't stop." Valrin nodded slowly. "Then take this." From the folds of his cloak, the druid produced a small amulet carved from bone and crystal. It pulsed faintly with a soft, warm glow. "It will not save you from death," Valrin said, pressing it into Daren's palm, "but it will remind you why you still walk." When his strength had returned, Daren left the hollow root with a new sense of purpose. Valrin watched him disappear into the mist without another word. The journey to Elder's Peak was still long, but now the path felt a little less impossible. Chapter 6: Thorns of Suspicion. Elder's Peak rose from the mist like a vision from another world. It was a city unlike any other, a place where nature and magic intertwined seamlessly. Towering spires of crystal emerged from ancient silverleaf trees, their branches cradling homes and bridges woven of light and living wood. Waterfalls cascaded through the city, their spray catching the sun and creating rainbows that shimmered over the elven streets. Music, faint and ethereal, seemed to drift from nowhere and everywhere at once. But as breathtaking as it was, Daren felt no welcome in its beauty. At the city's border, elven sentinels appeared soundlessly, their bows drawn. Without a word, they bound his hands with living vines that pulsed faintly with magic. A blindfold was placed over his eyes, and he was led through the city in silence. He caught fleeting scents of wildflowers and starlight, heard the soft murmur of elven voices, but saw nothing. Finally, they brought him into a great chamber carved from crystal and stone. The blindfold was removed. Before him sat the Council of Thorns, a semicircle of elder elves, their faces unreadable, their ageless eyes as sharp as daggers. "You bring ruin with your steps," said the eldest, their voice echoing softly through the chamber. "A man born from flame and blood. Why do you seek our gates?" Daren stood tall despite his exhaustion. "I came for my family." The council murmured among themselves, suspicion heavy in their gaze. Accusations surfaced. Was he a spy? Was the cataclysm a human act of war? Did he carry corruption within him from the fallen star? Before the interrogation could deepen, the chamber doors opened. And she entered. Elaria. She was dressed in robes of moon silver, her presence radiant yet serene. Her eyes widened the moment they met his, and she crossed the chamber in graceful, urgent steps. Without a word, she threw her arms around him. The council fell silent. From behind her robe stepped a small boy, barely more than a toddler, his eyes wide with innocent curiosity. He had Daren's jawline, Ilaria's fire. "Kalen." Daren sank to his knees. His hands trembled as he reached out, brushing the boy's soft hair. Tears fell freely down his face. He had found them,